Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for our weekend weather update across Australia and the outlook for next week as we leave August and go into September. Let's have a look at the satellite map showing the cold front coming into South Australia this morning. Bursts of thunderstorms, heavy rain and showers moving inland as well, and now coming into Victoria, Tasmania, New South Wales and the A.C.T. Elsewhere around the nation, not a huge amount of energy. There are a few isolated showers here and there and some offshore thunderstorms just getting very close to the coastline there. Plenty of southerlies coming in along that southern coastline, but ahead of the cold front, mild northwesterly winds. Here's a closer view of the rain and thunderstorms this morning, particularly around South Australia and Victoria. One thing you'll notice, how fast this is moving. This is a 6-hour animation, which means if you're getting some of these thunderstorms, before you know it, it's all over, like by the time you're watching this. The other thing you can see in here, the showers coming in around Ceduna, Streaky Bay, that area, southwesterly flow, whereas over here into Victoria, more of a west to northwest flow. So milder on this side, cold front with the thunderstorms, and then behind it, those showers come on through. Let's have a look at the bigger picture. So very clear to see where the air pressure systems are hoovering up that southerly between low pressure coming into Bass Strait, high pressure coming in the southwest corner of Western Australia, between the two, dredging up that southerly, especially strong around South Australia and Victoria. And as this moves along eastwards, the high bulldozing it all along towards the Tasman Sea, that burst of severe gales that's mostly around South Australia is going to move into Victoria and slide along the southern coastline before popping out on the eastern side. And at the same time that that's happening, you've got the westerly up here around New South Wales. That's going to increase as well. So windy westerly building up and a strong southerly behind it. And that's going to create some severe winds. So we kick off with the Friday evening map. We don't usually show you the today one. So this is not showing you 24 hours of rainfall. This is just showing you where we expect conditions to be in the early afternoon Eastern time. So the severe weather box mostly covering gale force winds and thunderstorms. There'll be surges of strong westerlies coming up the New South Wales coastline over the top of the A.C.T. Rain turning to snow in the mountains. Thunderstorms moving out of South Australia coming into Victoria. And then on top of that, damaging winds on the coastline here, shifting from South Australia and moving along the coastline, coming in towards Melbourne as we go through the day. And with low pressure in Bass Strait, that brings instability to the northern part of Tasmania in the form of thunderstorms, downpours, that sort of thing. Everywhere else, not really a lot to talk about. The high coming in to Western Australia is the next big main feature, stretching all the way up to the Kimberley. So you've got an easterly flow around that. And if you're in Queensland, very quiet at the moment, both wind-wise, rain-wise, even temperature-wise. It's all just kind of a calmer pull up there for now. That's likely to change a little bit. And it's going to change because of the energy that's occurring down here. Classic end of winter, start of spring kind of weather. Windy westerlies, thunderstorms, temperatures warm one day, cold the next. That's about as spring-like as it gets. So you can see here, this is 12:30 today, Central Time. These are the damaging winds in purple coming straight into the coastal areas, and they're hovering around sort of 80 to 100 kilometre an hour. You've then also got, along the mountains further to the east, that west to northwesterly flow, also pushing winds up over 100 kilometres an hour as far north as the Blue Mountains around Sydney. So windy stuff coming through, and as I say, this is moving eastwards. All of the energy is doing the same thing. So we jump to 1 o'clock Saturday morning. This is Eastern time. So coming straight out of Bass Strait, right over the top of Curry and straight in to Melbourne, that is that main surge. And it starts with Mount Gambier even later tonight, and then moves through into the early hours, coming in around Geelong up towards Melbourne. Now these gusts in this area here, this is coastal, but you're talking 120 kilometres an hour or more, and then it fades out. As you go into Melbourne, you're getting down to more sort of 70, 60. If you get a thunderstorm and a squall, that could push it up even higher than that though. So windy weather moving along, and it's a strong southerly or southwesterly that is doing that. And here we are 10 o'clock Saturday morning, and you can see now we're getting that shift happening. Westerlies are still gusting right up towards Queensland now. The northern part of New South Wales seeing these strong winds right along the Great Dividing Range. And then you've got that southerly change coming in around Mallacoota, Merimbula, those areas getting that strong southerly change away from the westerlies further north. In comes the south to southwesterly change. So let's get into Saturday properly. Here is how it's looking. The positive news, the polar line here, the kind of messy one, is being pushed eastwards very quickly. So as I mentioned before, everything is moving very fast from the left-hand side of the screen to the right-hand side of the screen. This box here still shows the same risks: thunderstorms, high elevation snow that'll get down to several hundred meters possibly, but it's going to change quite quickly during the day because as the blue line moves eastwards, the temperature goes up. May not be by very much, but it's enough to lift that snow level further up. You've still got thunderstorms, heavy rain, heavy snow higher up, turning back to rain as we go through the day, and southerlies blowing through into Queensland, so temperatures drop there, southerly winds are felt, and then you see this other severe weather box. Now this is right at the lowest possible end of the scale, but I stuck it up there because we're going to see gusts into gale force, getting up to about 60 kilometers an hour. Doesn't usually cause too much damage, but it can blow things over, dust storms, things like that, from the outback of Queensland all the way over into Western Australia's coastline. So that's just worth monitoring on Saturday, blustery conditions through there. Let's get into Sunday, where the severe weather box has disappeared. Finally, high pressure is growing in the south, coming out of the Indian Ocean, which is another sign of a change in the seasons now that we're getting back to a stream of high pressure, which wasn't the case in previous months, but it was how we started the year. So things are going back to where they should be. Windy easterlies carry on at the top of the country. High pressure balloons out into New South Wales. Your winds ease right back. Same story in the A.C.T. And a large part of Victoria also feeling the winds easing back. Still a bit showery and windy in coastal areas to the south. And then you've got Tasmania still under the polar airflow. Still a bit cold, especially on the west coast and around Hobart. And the westerlies are quite strong. Still could be gusting to gale force. Hopefully not problematic though at that point. By Monday, the winds ease back even further, although it's still cold around parts of Tasmania, including obviously the main centre. High pressure is stuck over South Australia again, apart from a couple of showers, not very much to talk about. And we do see a few showers also around Queensland and the northeast corner of New South Wales. Wouldn't rule out a few thunderstorms there. And for those in the north who, for weeks now, have barely been talking about you, still very quiet. Not a lot happening in the tropical north. Not yet anyway. We're what I say the other day, just a few weeks away from probably seeing some changes there as well. So as we go into next week, pretty quiet compared to where we are this week. A lot of high pressure, maybe a few showers here and there. Victoria perhaps has the best chance of showery weather, and around Tasmania on the western side, where finally the polar line drops south of you as we get to Tuesday. Doesn't last long because by Wednesday it's already back up into coastal parts of Victoria. If you're in Tasmania itself, the severe weather box highlighting heavy rain on the west coast, thunderstorms, and there might just be a little bit of snowback again. And of course, we might see some isolated damaging wind gusts around Tassie. Everywhere else, the winds aren't too bad. Easterlies at the top of the country, northerlies develop in Western Australia ahead of a westerly change. Now, yesterday, I was talking about that becoming the next severe weather box, but today it's not looking so bad. That's because it's always a bit frustrating when there's a high pressure system that's almost moving in, but not quite. Because when it's almost moving in, it has a sort of a vulnerability over here on the eastern side of it where the southerly flow is. And yesterday's map showed that coming right back in again. Today's update shows the high pressure system going, no, I'm going to control this a bit more. So maybe a few thunderstorms, isolated showers around for you on Thursday, not seeing severe weather risks, and windy nor'westers build up there further in the southeast. Once more, the expected 7-day rainfall, nothing too big and dramatic in there. Most of the wet weather on the west coast and around the mountains, but we do see those heavy showers today, especially moving around South Australia and then through Victoria and parts of New South Wales over the next couple of days. That's all from me. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. Thanks for all the great feedback on YouTube. We do read all the comments, don't always get to reply, but thank you so much for all the support. And those of you that are kind enough to donate some money as well, that's also extremely appreciated. Have a great weekend. I'll see you again on Monday.